through the minister holding this bag again. And so, first of all, I'm going to talk with Miss Kimberly King Burns. First of all, I want to say welcome. This is me welcoming you, having met you for the first time. That's why I shook your hand when you mounted the platform. And you are from Harbor Island.
Yes, sir.
And when was the last time you were home?
April.
April.
And I go home again on Saturday.
Okay, so you come up on a regular basis?
As often as I can. I live and work in Los Angeles, but I also run a community foundation based on Harbor Island, the Bryland Modem Fund.
Yes.
And applicable to this conference, we've built a number of Out Island community computer centers in Harbor Island, Eleuthera, Cat Island, and Exuma.
I want to ask you, Ms. Burns, and we are so delighted that you have come home and you continuously come home and you apparently invest at home. And for that, we the Bahamian people thank you. How would you suggest, Ms. Burns, we go about integrating Bahamians abroad with local development, considering that that's something you are practically doing right now?
This style of technology conference is an excellent start because it jumpstarts a conversation that we've long been wanting to have. I grew up on a tiny out island with lots of power outages, lots of water issues. If you grow up in an out island, you grow up with a really pragmatic take on how to problem solve. And I think with Grand Bahama suggesting that they want to lead the way by branding themselves as the nearshore, offshore tech hub for this part of the country, I think that Nassau has an opportunity to give the entire small island nation its wings. Freeing up some of the overlapping regulatory hoops we've had to jump through, allowing us to manage more of our resources, affecting continued hands-on training for everyone involved in the community, from local government, which can largely be considered a fan club as opposed to a group of skilled professionals, working to manage a community, to hotel workers. I mean, there's no such thing as a small job. And, we've been talking a lot this conference about, sun, sand, sea. It's not enough. It's a great start. And the sun can remain the sun for the tourism industry. It can also jumpstart a viable solar industry. The wind is... We've had opportunities in the out islands over the last 20 years that simply couldn't get past the regulatory challenges and hurdles in Nassau. When I was growing up, we had regional power companies that were mostly privately held, and it worked. Centralization was a really good idea, I think, but with 300 islands, 6,000 keys, half of which most people in Nassau couldn't identify to save their lives. I think we've held ourselves back. Technology is giving us the opportunity to move forward, and I think if we could free up some of the regulatory challenges, some of the financial controls, and just some of the maybe, and I don't want to come down on Nassau because I went to St. Augustine's and it was a great education.
Yes.
But Nassau tends to think in terms of what helps Nassau, and I think what needs to happen now is that we talk about Grand Bahama, which has the most impressive physical infrastructure we've seen in a long time, and get to where regulatory and education and finance can coexist.
Thank you. That's impressive. Let's give Mrs. Kimberly a hand. And she's a SLAC student, former student. School where our Prime Minister also attended. Dr. Gadrin Higgs, Silicon Valley also. Tell us, where did you grow up?
So I grew up here in Freeport.
So you're a Grand Bahamian. Can we get his mic? We want to hear this. Grand Bahamian. Is your mic on?
Hello?
Hello? Excuse me. Sound people. There you go. Are you on now?
Hello? It's a little low. Okay, all right.
Okay. So let's do that question again. Where are you from? Where did you grow up? Or where are you from?
Yes, so I grew up here in Grand Bahama.
You schooled here as well?
Yes, so I went to Mary Star of the City Primary School and then Grand Bahama Catholic High School.
Very good. Very good. How long have you been in the United States?
Since high school, which has been about almost 15 years now.
And if I may ask, how old are you for the benefit of some of our inspiring persons in the room?
I'm 30 years old.
Very good. That's, wow. Dr. Higgs, what is needed immediately to make us a tech hub or a smart city here in Grand Bahama?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah.
Is needed?
So there's sort of a lot of different ways in which you can take that question. The way I like to think about it is, if you'd want to be attractive to some of the big players who are in the field already, then there are things that you can do. And happy to talk about that. If you want to be able to sort of create everything from here, then there are sort of other things that you would kind of want to do. But what I kind of want to talk about is, what would you need that would sort of encompass both of those, right? So we've heard over the last 2 days that there are a lot of things that Grand Bahama already has that's going for it. It has the infrastructure, it has the location, it has a lot of these other things. Really, there just needs to be a mindset shift. That's sort of the first step in the direction towards being able to enable and unlock these things. So assuming that we can get that mindset shift, that is yes, we can do this type of thing here in the Bahamas. We don't have to solely rely on some of the other industries which have been very helpful for us in the past, but yet we can actually be able to do other things as well. Then we start to have conversations similar to what we're having today, and we can continue to have those conversations so that we can continue to grow. So from the perspective of kind of what needs to be done, if we don't start with that mindset shift, then your dreams will never become the reality. Your dreams will only be realized by you. It won't be realized by others around you. And when you talk about your dreams, it will always be met with skepticism. So just believing that there's the opportunity there and having that shift in order to be able to accomplish that.
Mm-hmm. You talk about the mind shift. Break it down a little bit more. What do you think we need to do in terms of, what do you want us to shift our minds from?
Yeah,
to?
For sure. So,
from what to what?
Yes. So oftentimes people tend to think that, and I myself have been guilty of it before, we tend to think that technology is some nebulous thing that's very difficult to do, that's very hard, right? And sure, if you're Elon Musk and you're building rockets to shoot to the moon, then that's one story. But let's remember that's not where Elon started. He started in other endeavors before that, right? So if we think of what could be some opportunities here, I'm sure everyone has probably heard about Uber. We don't have Uber here in the Bahamas, and I don't want to talk about sort of Uber, Bahamas, and why, but what I do want to talk about is look at the model. It's the shared economy model. And what the shared economy model is it's a two-sided marketplace almost. It brings people who have needs, and it brings people who have things that they can provide, and it allows them to be able to connect together. So I share that example because that's one really tangible example of that's something that we can start to embrace in terms of that shared economy model, not in terms of just being part of the users, but being part of the generators, the content creators and the generators for something like this. That platform and the headquarters for Uber doesn't have to exist in San Francisco. That could have existed anywhere, right? But if we can just start to get the exposure and think about what are some of these possibilities, then it's the way in which technology is today, those things could be anywhere in the world, including here.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Higgs. Let's give him a hand. Girl power, Christy Powell. How often do you come to the Bahamas?
Loaded question. Once a month, actually.
Once a month. So yeah, and see, this is something I think the audience need to know, because they would not have known that had you not said that. So you're often here once a month. Now,
Once a month, yeah.
You grew up here?
Born and raised in Nassau, Bahamas.
In Nassau, Bahamas. Where did you go to school?
I attended Xavier's Lewis School for primary school and St. Anne's for high school.
Okay. Okay. We're proud of all of you. Every one of you on this platform make us proud to be Bahamians. You know, and we often talk about athleticism, and we often boast about athletes, and we talk about everything else we've accomplished in the music world. But this makes us feel good in the intellectual capacity. This is good. It's refreshing. My question to you, Christy, because you have been up for all day, and I'm not going to put the pressure on the two, I believe, younger personnel here on the platform, but I often think this is something.
I'm older than this guy.
Oh. Okay. All
I'm
right.
the other guy. I'm probably that young lady.
But you look well.
Thank you.
You look well. Here's what I often talk about this, and I don't know how prevalent it is even to our present administration. I hope it is, and it will become. But I'm going to throw this out at you. How important you think it is to have a national data bank?
A national data buy-in?
Bank.
Bank. Oh,
Yeah.
bank. Okay, so a national data bank in the sense of understanding our people, or are you referring to data from a different perspective?
Data in the sense of I go to driver's license department,
All right,
I got to
so that's
give
your
one
frustration, I
information.
got you.
I go to the passport, I got to give the same information I just gave to the driver's. You got it.
I got it.
Okay.
That frustrates me too. So it's been a while since I've lived in the Bahamas, obviously, right? But I do know living abroad and having like a social security number, which is synonymous then with a national insurance number. So for example, if I wanted to get a new phone from Verizon, I give them my social security number, I give them my date of birth and my address, and magically this thing appears on my doorstep, my new phone. Here, however, from hearing the experiences and woes of my mother needing to get things from me, means that she now has to go to the national insurance branch. I think there's one on Fox Hill Road near our house, and then she has to drive down to COB if I needed to get a document from them, and then she has to ask me for a copy of my passport, and I'm like, but you gave birth to me. What more evidence do you need? But I do think it's very important for us to have a database of systems that are interconnected. I do think at its core, most of these government agencies are asking for the same set of information. So let's look at that. Let's break that down in its most simplest form. Each of us on stage has a first name. Each of us on stage has a last name. Each of us on stage has a national insurance number. All of us have a date of birth. All of us at least have one phone number, and we all have an address, right? So at its core, is there anything fundamentally different between me and Dr. Higgs? The answer is no, right? Like, we're all described by a certain set of attributes, and these attributes are no different to any government agency. They all think that their problems are unique, but they're really not. Like, these problems have been solved over and over and over across the world. Now, I want a passport. I need a national insurance number. At the end of the day, there should be one central repository where they could put in my national insurance number, especially now that it's digitized, and say, hey, this is Christy, regardless of whether or not they know how I look or who my parents are, because at the end of the day, again, we are all described by the same fundamental attributes: first name, last name, date of birth, address. Now, when you think about going back down to like medical records, digitizing medical records always often seems insurmountable because of the amount of data, right? Like, I had to get a booster shot, I had to get an MMR, and I needed those things over and over as I went from primary school to high school to university. And each time, honestly, I always have to get the same set of shots over and over and over, even though I didn't need them, but I had no way of proving that I had them. So therein lies the complexity and the challenges with having data fragmented. And then the one question that always comes up that I'll pose to everyone here is, if I have data in location A and I have data about somebody in location B, who's the authority? Who's the authoritative source? Who says that my parents' name are actually spelled the way that it should be spelled in location A versus location B? So when data is in two separate places, neither of those locations have the authoritative data. And I think fundamentally we need to figure that out. Because again, going back to what I said earlier, each of us on stage may look different, we may behave different, but physically we can all be described by the same attributes.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And Laron.
He's the baby on the stage.
Yes, he is. Laron. Where did you go to school? You started to tell us that earlier today. Yes.
I went to primary school at Freeport Primary, and then high school at St. George's High School.
And how
St. George's.
Yes, yes. Okay, did you all hear him? No. Okay, let's start again. What school did you go to?
Can you hear me better? I went to Freeport Primary for primary school, and then St. George's High School for high school. And
I want to ask you, how often do you come home?
not enough.
Not enough. But you had the baby. How long have you been away from us?
4.5 years for university.
4.5 years. Okay, and that's not bad. It's almost time in college, basically. So prior to that, you were here.
Yes.
Okay. And what do you miss about home the most when you're away?
Really, the culture. I think
culture.
the culture is different, where there's a lot more friendlier and open environment for discussion, right? There's people that I may not even know, but they'll come up and talk to me. And that's happened anywhere, right? If you go to get groceries, you could probably meet somebody new. But in the United States, it's kind of different. So the culture here and that open environment for discussion is perfect here.
Do you intend to, in your future, do you see yourself coming back home?
Definitely.
So you want to come back home?
I want to come back home, yes.
I would actually, these questions are actually my questions. I would ask you the question, but I think that question might have been asked of you already, but I'm just going to throw it out there.
Don't ask it.
On second thought, I don't think so. All right, what would make you want to come back home?
Again, so let's go back to the first question, which is the culture. I think that the entrepreneurial culture is one of open discussion and collaboration. And open discussion happens here in the Bahamas all the time. It's just that we need to shift that discussion from sports and entertainment to intellectual stuff and business. That's about it. And I think being abroad, you see so many opportunities, and you're like, wow, we're not doing that yet. it's just so many opportunities to do stuff like that, and so many opportunities to give back in very small ways, but impact the people here a lot.
He is the baby on the stage, so I'm not going light on him. I'm just trying to ask the right and appropriate questions, also based on his age. By the way, those of you who don't know, he's 22 years of age, and already he's an intellectual giant. With that being said, in your answer to my previous question, then I'm going to ask you this, being the younger one on the stage, where would you like to see Grand Bahama from a technical and cyber perspective 10 years from today?
What I would love to see, I would love to see Grand Bahamians build and start their own tech hub and their tech startups. I really believe that the resources are there for us to start it ourselves. The community is there, the open collaboration is there. Again, we just need to shift the discussion. It's part of the mind shift. Shift the discussion to where we will talk about businesses and how we will help each other create these ventures. And in 10 years, I would love to see a lot of Bahamian-owned tech companies in the cyber industry as well as the manufacturing industry.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Christy, I'm coming back to you and Dr. Higgs. I think I basically asked Ms. Kimberly already, but how can, starting with you, Christy, followed by Dr. Higgs, how can you use your knowledge and experience and even connections to help develop Grand Bahama as this technical hub that we're pushing?
So, you know, when you knock on enough doors, someone has to answer. I'm knocking on doors, sir, and I'm talking, and I'm trying to spread the word and trying to spread the message, but oftentimes it falls on deaf ears. I find that people listen a little bit more with their eyes than they do with their ears sometimes, and it's unfortunate. So starting with sessions like these, attending tech summits, letting people know that they have ambassadors for the country spread all across the world who are doing amazing things, but yet still the Bahamas is lagging behind, means that as a country, we are doing something wrong. And it means that as a country, there's so much room for us to do more. With the expertise that I've gained over the last several years of working abroad, it is my responsibility, as well as everyone else's responsibility who are on this stage, to continue to travel and continue to ask those questions of, well, why aren't we doing that in the Bahamas? And it's very important not to give up, and it's very important for everybody in this room to understand that if you have kids, if you are a parent, if you are a guardian of one, to tell them not to give up on their dreams, because it is hard. And there are going to be times when they face adversity, and there will be times when people just flat out say no. And that is very, very discouraging. There are lots of people in my age group who are abroad who want to come back home, and they always talk about the fact that there's no opportunity because the old folks in the room just don't want to move out of the way. And we kind of have to wait for them to be... We got to put them in a wheelchair for them to move out of the way. Don't do it? Oh, go. Oh, okay. I'm sure if that's good or bad, but you know, hey, it's my opinion. And I was sharing this with Senator Thompson yesterday that, you know, a lot of members of Parliament, you know, are lawyers. And they can cite something from an article from the High Supreme Court, and I wouldn't be able to tell my head from my tail. And when I come up here and I start talking about fast Fourier transforms or some C++ algorithm, you too can't tell your head from your tail.
Yes, you're right.
But if you don't admit that you can't tell your head from your tail, then we move nowhere.
Amen.
And I think now as a government, as well as from an enterprise level, we need to work together, but we need to make sure that we surround ourselves with smart people who can help to move us forward. So the only thing I can do from where I am is knock on doors and hope that somebody opens as much as I can.
Dr. Higgs.
So when I think about the expertise and the experiences that I've had, over the last many years, a few things keep kind of coming back, at least for me. And one of the things that I really sort of enjoy or am really passionate about is just technology. So I love the fact that today we can be sitting here having a discussion about technology. So when I think about the role in which, let's say, and the exposure that I've had, particularly being out in the Valley, and what are some of the things that I've learned out there, and Laurent would have highlighted some of this today as well as some of the other speakers, which is how do you get something from being just an idea into reality? And that's the part that really excites me. That's the part that it's hard to explain. For those of you who probably haven't had the chance to build something that you've created, whether that's a physical product, whether that's a website, whether that's an app, whatever it is, just the process of going through something like that and developing it, and then turning around and seeing it being used by people who you know, and seeing the experience that they have by going through it, it's a phenomenal experience. So for me, when I think about like going through the process of learning what it's like to do that, it's not easy. It's challenging. It's hard. Laurent hit on some of the big things that people run into when they try to do these things. And when we think about, okay, we want to be doing some of the things that we see happening in other parts of the world, well, in order to do that, we sort of have to understand already what are they doing and how are they able to do what they do. And so I feel as though my experiences over there have been able to help me learn more about what that is like. And while I wouldn't consider myself to be an expert by Silicon Valley standards, I surely have enough of that experience to be able to help guide folks going through that process here in the Bahamas in a better way than had they not had someone who had that exposure.
Ms. Kimberly, I'm going to ask that you give us a final word of wisdom.
We are very many islands. We are very many perspectives. The economics of one island are not consistent with the economics of other islands. And I welcome the opportunity to expose and introduce and educate Bahamian entrepreneurs in the opportunity to really make a difference. I mean, as Christy was talking about, e-government is a huge aspect. Until recently, if you wanted to renew your passport or renew a business license on Harbor Island, you had to physically fly to Nassau, make an appointment. And, it's not as though our flights and our boat, mailboat transportation is that highly scheduled, would be the diplomatic way to put it. So we've got a real opportunity to unite a lot of islands, farmers, workers, industrialists, financial folks, to expand around the country with Grand Bahama as our beacon. And I think what we want to do is remain open to the possibilities. I don't think there are any rules out there. It's a constantly changing financial and industrial world. And instead of running away from it, I look forward to opportunities like this to show how we can embrace it and empower Bahamians.
Ladies and gentlemen of this panel, I want to say on behalf of the persons in this room and who have been in this room this morning and on yesterday, you are true ambassadors for the Commonwealth of the Bahamas in the area and the field that you're in. Once again, we cannot say how proud we are of you and how highly you are representatives of us in another country. Again, you make the 242 look real good. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We're going to carry on with our program. And so let's give them another hand. We really appreciate them. Dr. Higgs, Miss Powell, Mr. Burrows, and Miss Burns. Let's give them a hand again.
Did what?
Really, really. We're now going to hear from Mr. Alex Cameron. He is from London. He is going to speak to us what will hinder the progress of Grand Bahama as a gateway to innovation and technology. Very appropriate after such a panel discussion. Let's give him a hand. And he's going to tell you a little bit about himself as he comes.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Thank you. Thank you.
Are we on? Yeah. Afternoon, my beloved Bahamians. Christy, I love hearing you speak. I love hearing you speak. Which is why I put the first slide on here. Because that's the feel I've got from the conference today. And I'm a little bit confused as to why I'm here. So I'm technically, as I'll go on to explain, driftwood. Which everyone wanted to give this talk. Everyone I've spoken to wants to sort of complain, wants to explain what's going to mess things up, what's wrong. I don't really want to do that. I actually entitled the talk Digital Paradise, which is a little bit more of a thing. But I firstly want to say thank you to Damien from Alive, because I came here to sail and to fly planes, and now I'm on a stage. This is supposed to be a holiday. Thank you. I'm a senior developer. At some point, you're going to have to deal with someone like me. So what was prescient about what just got said was, how do you develop an idea once you have it? So I'm the guy you come and speak to who helps you plan and build. And once you've built it, if something goes wrong, I fix it. So taking your idea from where it is now into reality is what I do. I have no agenda. I have no filter. So we're going to be doing real talk. Where to begin? I also write films in the evenings. A little bit of really interesting news. Last night I was at Bones Bar and I came down with a couple of guys who I work with. I have 15 different clients at the moment, tend to do them simultaneously, which is exhausting. But one of our clients came down from Vancouver, was sitting over a drink and said, why don't we build a call center here? We were going to build it somewhere else. So as of last night, we have a call center in Grand Bahama because of this summit. Thank you, guys. Good job. We've got a lot to get through. I'm going to zoom through a lot of slides, so bear with me. If you've got a notepad, you want to jot things down. Now, I know the most wonderful thing about this conference is that it was started with a prayer. I'm a prayerful man, and Bahamians are a prayerful people. So I've got a word for you guys first. And this is the most appropriate thing I can think of when we're talking about confidence. You remember this scripture? Joshua 1:9, be strong and courageous. Have I not commanded you? That's how we start. Strength and courage. Do not be discouraged. I can give you a talk here about what's going to hinder things. I'm going to talk to you about how we're going to get past this. So the first thing I want to talk about the Bahamas as a startup. Oh, that one. Where are the young digital Bahamians? Why are there a bunch of old people on the stage? Talking about things they've already done. We need for people what they're going to do. There are 7 or 8 at least people who have spoken to me here who have got ideas they wanted me to say here. And I said, why not just give up my 20 minutes and put you people on stage? That would be a lot easier. So some of my talk is going to be a little bit confrontational, but it's done in love, because I love this country. So the first thing you know about me, I'm a senior developer, so I do coding and programming. I've been a digital nomad for 15 years. I've worked with a lot of people. I'm not going to give you a resume because I just don't care about that. The first thing you need to know is I don't use this language, and neither should you. When I wrote this morning, this is meaningless. All of this kind of jargon. Anyone who talks to you about solutions and architecture and whatever and Internet of Things, language is the means to meaning. Simple, direct language is the quickest way to communicate. If you cannot possibly get around that, how are you going to express your idea to anyone or get anywhere else either? Next thing, we've got to do this now. All right, not tomorrow, so we're going to learn to code today. Everyone here is going back to school, and everyone's going to learn how to read computer code. This is essentially the basis of what we do in development. We're making a decision in code. This is called a conditional statement. If something is true, do something. If it's not, don't do something. And you can all detect the hidden message in here. This is what a computer does. Runs this particular type of thing. We're going to make some decisions. So what, in the second bit here, you can see this is running a function. What we'll do at the second bit, if something is true, we're going to run through a list of things and do lots and lots of things. This is the basics of computer programming. If you can read this, and you understand what that does, you can build something in technology. But that is the fundamentals. Now, we've had explanations of blockchains and lots of talk about this. Mr. Minnis talked about that. And a lot of other people talked about blockchains and blockchains and blockchains. And people saying, well, if you understand blockchains, then you don't understand them. No. Blockchains are very, very simple to understand. If you don't get it in 30 seconds, just don't bother reading it. And I'll tell you why. Blockchains are a 200,000-year-old human problem. So what we're going to talk about, you see this crowd here, we're going to learn this in 30 seconds. If you can't get it in that, then why are we building it? That's a huge crowd of different people. We can't agree, ever. Human history has never allowed us to agree about anything, ever. We have a crazy mob of people in a village square. Somehow we have to reach an agreement. They need to elect a leader, for example. So which leader do we elect? How do we elect them? It always ends in conflict. We need a 51% vote. So we've got to get these guys to come to a consensus. They don't like each other. They don't trust each other. Chaos results. So what we do is we've found a mathematical algorithm that allows us to irrevocably to auto-organize a group to come to a decision. That's what blockchain methodology is. We couldn't do it before because we didn't have the computers and the cryptography that we needed. But that is essentially it. And what we needed before, in the last 200,000 years ago, we couldn't agree on money, so we needed banks. We couldn't agree on how to organize ourselves, so we needed government. Once the crowd has a way, at this point, to automatically organize itself, we have no need for any more of those things, because we can do it mathematically. That's how to understand blockchains. I came to the attention, I'm a volunteer, so I literally came over for an extended vacation. So when I got here, I was very frustrated because I couldn't find out where Cable Beach was and Love Beach, and I didn't know where everything is, I didn't know how to get where I needed to go. So I started looking at GIS data, geographic stuff. Worked with a company called Mapbox. Couldn't find any boundary shapes like I would be able to do elsewhere. And I'm aware of a couple of other people working on projects like this. But the problem is the data is hoarded by people. Hoarded. And for commercial gain. So we have something obviously in technology called open source. So we grabbed 80,000 of these records and we've thrown them up for any developer to use at any point for any reason. So we can start to develop some traffic applications and geography-based things and what. And I've done a few more things after that. One of the next projects we're working on is this. I don't know when my next bus is arriving. I love the buses, but they drive me crazy. They stop at 7 o'clock. I don't know where they are. So we started talking to a couple of people in NASA that were doing this, strictly on a voluntary basis for anyone who's involved in immigration here. And they told us they were going to be billed $30,000 to do this, to track these buses. And I know Alive are already doing this. They're already doing it with their buses. They know exactly where their little cars are at any moment. So I said, well, we can do this for $20. Why on earth do we need $25,000? What kind of Ferrari do they want to buy with this? So this is a GPS tracker. It's $1. We get the $1, we stick it on the bus. 3 hours, we write an API, and we can watch it live on a Google map. It was 3 hours. We don't need big things. We don't need big money. We just need smart money, and we need smart thinking. But that is every day. That was 2 lines of code to do that, to report the latitude and longitude. Now, when we're thinking about the biggest question, actually, no, I've actually skipped way ahead. I'm a digital nomad. I know a couple of other people have talked about this before. And I call, well, as we sort of tend to call ourselves, Bahama llamas or Bahama drama llamas, Bahama llama drama bananas. I can just work anywhere there's Wi-Fi. So I've been working in Canada for 3 years, and I decided I was coming to the Bahamas because it's my favorite country in the world. I've traveled... Give yourself a round of applause, good job. I've traveled to 64 different countries, and I've been all over the place, and hopefully by December I'm going to add 21 more when I go to the Caribbean. But this is number one. And I say that sincerely. I love this place. I've got a list of reasons, which I'm going to show you in a minute. But I truly love the Bahamian people. I love this place. I've loved every single minute of living here, and it seems that nobody wants to let me leave in Nassau at the moment. So, which is going to work to my advantage, I think. So a digital nomad is basically someone who's not attached to their desk. You can work online anywhere. Now, the interesting thing about digital nomads, there's hundreds of them in the Bahamas now. We have empty hotels we can put them up in. They're traveling through as we speak. You've probably met a few. They come in on a tourist visa, and they enjoy themselves, they work, they report back in, and then they go back home again. So we have the resources actually sitting in the Bahamas right now who can help. And I'm going to tell you a bit of reason why they're a little bit hidden in a bit. But so I was making my decision. How do I come down to the Bahamas? It was a very easy decision. I'm British. I love all the old cinema and the romance of this place. I love the Bahamian people. I love the fact that there's stand-up comedy with every Bahamian I ever speak to, ever. Honest truth. I love the strength of Bahamian women. I love the manliness of Bahamian men. I love just the hilarity every single time. I love the language. I love the dialect. And the fact... The number one aspect I love is the playfulness of Bahamians. Oh. So, this was my decision tree. And the most important thing, if you scan down the list, you've got Sean Connery, the finest Bond of all time. Lives in your wonderful land. But I can go through all these options in detail. Basically, everything's good. There's no possible ambiguity in the decision. It's a very simple, easy one to make. The things that are a little put me back were, oh, hang on a minute, the rent is very, very expensive. I'm going to need to bill very high and get more clients. I'm not sure about the work situation. I can't get an Amazon delivery. Some of those things, but they were fundamentally really, really small things. They massively outweighed the benefits. I've got to keep referring back here so I can actually remember where I am. But there's also a resource for digital nomads called Nomad List. So what you do is when you go into a new city is you have a guide. In effect. This is for Nassau. There's nothing for Freeport, so I have no idea what it's like to live here. There are 15,000, 25,000 registered users, and when they're going between Thailand and they're going between Saudi Arabia, or they want to go down to Bali, or they want to do something else vacuous, like go to Europe for like a day or two, you have this. So you go and check this. This is the score for Nassau. It's not too bad. Barbados is a lot worse. But as you can see, big problem is the cost of living. And walkability, but who cares about walkability? It's 21/7 in Nassau, and you get to relax and enjoy yourself. But there's a lot of criteria, but that will tell you all you need to know. There's nothing for Freeport. I have no idea. So we're going to do that tomorrow. We're in the live office. We're going to go and we're going to start putting some reviews on there and getting Freeport on the map immediately. All right. Number one question I get from all my colleagues, and I work for 15 different companies, Canada, US, Europe, pretty much everywhere. That's their question. Do you have internet there? And I said, yeah, I have internet which is 10 times faster than Canada and 10 times cheaper. And they said, well, what about mobile coverage? And I said, we have 20 megs a second here. And their next question is, oh my God, can I move there? So the fundamental issue here is perception. It's perception. There needs to be something done about this. I mean, I'm going to make some suggestions about that, but that is the number one question that everyone has, and I get it every single day. How do you work there on have they got any internet? How do you can you use your mobile phone there? What's the connectivity like? Another thing you need to know: Silicon Valley sucks, really sucks. I'm sorry for everyone who thinks it's really good. I don't. And I have a problem with Silicon Valley. I have lots of problems with Silicon Valley, other than their horrendous ideology, their enormous rent rates, their some of the idiotic products that come out of there as well. But some of these people are earning, like Netflix, for example, is $273,000 a year basic salary. Google's, well, Chris, you better tell me, but the last thing I heard was about 110,000 a year. But they can't afford to live here. Their quality of life is appalling. So they don't want to be there, they want to be here. So then we have to look at this. How do you sell Grand Bahama? Well, it's easy. We've already done it. It's very, very simple. It's this. Jet ski to work, code on the beach. Who wants to sit in an office? Why would you want to sit in an office when you can code on the beach? I was doing it outside the Lucayan yesterday, working there. I don't want to, that's why I came here. I don't want to sit in an office. I do not. Some of the people you meet in those offices are awful. Appalling people. Oh, goodness me. So it's easy. So perception advertisements. The one thing the government can do is actually inform people this is a seriously connected place. Now we've got a live in, we've got some serious acceleration on top of it. They've got 100 megabit a second running into Atlantis. We've got 20 megs a second on those phones. That's faster than anything up there. Okay, so now in terms of government, I'm going to go through a couple of things, and forgive me if I'm moving fast, but we'll start with government, we'll go through legal, financial, etc. Now, the country you want to beat is Estonia. Now, nobody knows where Estonia is. I had to look up Estonia, but it's this little place on the corner here, former sort of Russian Federation territory. This is renowned as the most competitive, the most progressive e-government in the world. And it's a tiny, small little country next to my beautiful England, which is, it's beating the world. It's way ahead. I'm going to talk about why it's way ahead. And it doesn't seem like it because we think America's the most progressive, which is becoming a bit of a joke in the last couple of months, the same with Canada and the rest of them. Another thing you'll know is that there's a bit of an open secret. Silicon Valley likes to play with its products before it puts them out to the market. You know where it does it? New Zealand. And the reason it does it in New Zealand is because it's a very small, digitally connected economy with a very small area in which they can get high quality, sophisticated digital feedback. And this is a thing from a magazine, basically one of the VCs explaining why they do it in New Zealand, why it's a good place to do it. So if you want to find more out about that, this is a fantastic book to read, giving an idea about how you can turn a small country into something that has an enormous impact. First question, why are the registries not online? We've got Ancestry, we've got Find My Past. Where are the birth registries? Where are the deaths, marriages, land registries? Come on, man, where are they? If they can do it, this is a country of 300,000-ish people. This is not hard. Now, I heard there was a guy talking this morning about doing government scanning and getting in documents and court documents. I'm not sure who it was. Let's go. If you need a hand, give me a call. More government information. This is the British government website. This is what I was looking when I did the Bahamas GIS thing. I wanted shapes and polygons to find out postcodes and everything. Open data. There's no reason for the government not to post this for everyone. It's the people's data. It's public data. This is not something to be held on to. Right. Now, my favorite, this is for me, and if there is anyone from immigration or anything. Right, this is what I think you should do. We've been wanting for this digital, it's all over the world. Digital people, this is so simple, you won't believe. Thailand's introduced what's called a digital nomad visa, but it's not really a digital nomad visa. So for someone like me or anyone else coming through customs, I don't work here, I don't pay tax, I don't take out from the economy, I don't compete with the labor force. But what I do is my clients pay me elsewhere and offshore, and I literally get to have vacation here. I get to live in paradise and to do my job too. So what we need, and what thousands of people who go through these cities every day want, is this. A simple way when you come through the airport, instead of coming on a tourist visa where you get stamped for 2 or 3 years and you can contribute back. Because the definition of work under Bahamian law means any gainful activity, which essentially means I could potentially be deported for being here because the government were nice enough to pay my hotel here, which is gainful. So it's ambiguous at that point. Now, Bahamians are not going to do that because they're very nice, obviously. Aren't you, government people? If you'd like me to put on handcuffs before I end, absolutely, I'll oblige you. This is easy. It's simple to do. This is a piece of legislation. I'm sure there are complexities that come with it. Let's do it, the first one. Nobody else has done this. The Thai people are trying to get in on this. But let's do it. It's easy. You've got them here already. They'll flood in so they can code on the beach. Canada began this in the end. They tried to convince me to do a work permit up there in June. I couldn't do it because I never want to be cold again. And so this is the idea that Donald Trump is killing off the H-1B visas. I actually had a really offensive slide about Donald Trump in here earlier, which I took out on advice. Because I knew I was going to be a bit confrontational today, but I didn't want to be insulting. So Canada is exploiting the H-1B issue, and it's saying, everyone who didn't go to the US, come to us. So they're prioritizing economic digital professions and fast-tracking them. You can get a work permit in 3 weeks in Canada if you've got a digital background, you've been certified. I like this one. This is a really fun. This is Estonia again. E-residency. Estonia sit down and said, well, hang on a minute. Countries don't have any borders anymore. But we want companies incorporating here. We want people paying tax here. We want people following our regulations. So you can go anywhere in the world where there's an Estonian embassy. You can register for an ID card, and you can be resident for tax and business purposes in Estonia and qualify for all the benefits if you want. And all you do is you sign in with your card reader online, you incorporate your company, and you're done. And you get all the benefits they have. Now imagine if you did that to the Bahamas. Imagine 400 banks here, and all the benefits, and you can double your population overnight, essentially. Now this isn't very interesting. So this is my least interesting slide. And I work with a client simply about this. Now, this is about Adobe. Adobe have an absolute racket going, an absolute racketeering operation going with this. Digital signatures are incredibly important for signing documents, especially government ones, dealing with the US, property allowances, that type of thing. You need what's called a root certificate authority, and they're the same things that are used when you use HTTPS. And they're very expensive, is what you need to know. There are pieces of hardware that will cost $25,000 for personal signing. It will be $1,000. But you can easily, if you're a government, you can easily create a root authority for signing documents. Very easy. Again, they're just text documents. You can build it in a week. Mobile POS. This is good. Taxis need somewhere to build their clients, like they have in Canada, for example, and excursions. Now, this is a really, really tough challenge, and I'll tell you why it's a very, very tough challenge, because you can't get Bahamian dollars, as far as I'm aware, from a credit card online directly into a Bahamian bank. Now, I've run into at least 30 or 40 people in the last couple who have been begging me for help with this specific problem. They want out of the Canadian and the US system, and they want to go directly into Bank of Bahamas or Scotia Bank or Commonwealth Bank. But the payment gateway isn't there, which is the thing. Now, we can get it done. Now, the reason people don't go to the end of this problem is because it's too intimidating. Everyone says it takes $2 million worth of investment. You need huge teams. You have problems with the banks. But Bank of Bahamas are using, I can't remember, Send POS, I think it was. I don't know who Commonwealth are using. The solution's already there. It's very easy. So I sat down with 3 or 4 of my guys. We built it the concept, the architecture in about a day and a half. Now, it can be, once you do that, this is actually effectively my retirement idea as well, because whoever does this is going to make a lot of money. Stripe for the Caribbean. Now, if you guys aren't familiar with Stripe, Stripe are a very interesting country. Now, forgive me if you have seen these concepts before, because I don't know the level of technical acumen in the audience. So, Stripe are a payment provider that are all over. They don't support the Bahamas, which is insane, because they should. But they have this as a developer. A couple of years ago, you would try and put a payment form on a website somewhere through the gateway, and you'd have to go through merchant banking agreements. You'd have to go through huge amounts of regulation, and it was impossibly difficult. So what Stripe did, he said, well, we want to make people do this in 10 minutes. Now, every developer, this is programmable money. It's programmable online payments. It's one of the most successful online payment thing that I know of, other than PayPal and Braintree, who are a direct competitor. These guys went from a couple of people in a garage to a multi-billion-dollar company in a year or two. That's how desperately it's needed. We can build it. If you want it, I'll give it to you. We've got the architecture. I'll put it out. Anyone wants it later, we'll open source it and we'll throw it over. One of you guys from Grand Bahama, build this. If you need a hand, I've got a coffee and I drink Killick. All right. Here's nothing. First thing I look for in Nassau, I need co-working. It's lonely working at home. It can be lonely working on the beach. So this is a shot from a company called WeWork. They filled this place up in Montreal, 700 people. They filled it up in 2 days. Nomads and digital people don't like working at home all the time. They want somewhere they can collaborate together. So now there's 2 or 3 people in Nassau who've tried to do this, but it's too expensive. The rents are too high. There are hundreds of programmers I know and technical people in Nassau now, for example, but they want a place like this. It's too expensive. So someone needs to help them out. Someone needs to subsidize these things. And they're small coffee shop type environments. You can't work in Starbucks all your life, because eventually they throw you out. Now, this is the one for Alive, wherever the Alive people are. We need a journey planner. We desperately need this. These are small islands comparatively. And we talked about Bahamian Uma, we talked about sharing in the business model, in the panel a minute ago. But how do we get from place to place? I want to go to Exuma and I want to get on a boat and I want to maybe go down to Long Island. Next week I'm traveling from the 14th to the 21st. I'm taking some time off because I want to see everything here. But how do I get around? I take a flight from here, I go from there, I've got a boat which I need to go somewhere here. Do I get a jitney there? Do I get a taxi there? I have no idea how to get around. And this is easy. So, Mr. Alive people, put this, how about the Alive Journey Planner at some point? Or maybe BTC if you know, anyway. If they're still around. I know it's mean, that was mean-spirited. I apologize, that was mean-spirited. That wasn't Bahamian, I'm sorry. Glad I don't own a BTC phone. Because I wouldn't anymore after this talk. Mr. Customs guy who I was having lunch with, I want Amazon to my house. Why can't I have Amazon here? I have to use a courier company. It's going to cost me a lot of money. We need postcodes or geographic locations. I want to order something really badly at 2 o'clock in the morning and regret it when it turns up 2 days later at my house. I'm not sure how this works, but I got told essentially sometimes the duty fees, I mean, apparently they're, from what I have a very, very limited understanding, but I understand they can be potentially, in some cases, up to 35%, which is fair enough. Everyone understands duties, but delivery, I don't want to contract someone and pay 4 times the amount for something terrible that I don't want in the first place anyway. Government website, looking at you, ministers of government and people down there in the front row. What is this? What is this? Pretty horrifying. This is the press release for the tech conference. It looks very engaging, doesn't it? I got through about, I reckon, at least a sentence of that. It sounds very interesting now, I'm sure. Very attractive design. I'm in so much trouble after this talk. This is the link. So I was going to try and send this on WhatsApp. I was going to send this on Facebook. What am I going to do? Someone said, can I read the press thing? That's the URL. This is Lotus Notes, as you can see in the URL, I think. Wonderful. Great job, everyone. Anyone, if you've got a copy and paste, anyone who wants to transcribe that or write that manually, be my guest. Let's just leave that up for a couple of minutes. There we go. Anyone? I will pay $50 unofficially to anyone who will transcribe that and forward that to me on WhatsApp in the next 10 minutes. It's not going to happen, is it? Okay. Data centers we might be able to put in Grand Bahama. The problem is, you don't put your data somewhere where there's going to be hurricanes. And we all know there are going to be hurricanes. And businesses get scared because they have agreements that are 99.9999% uptime. Now, that's obviously going to be a little bit difficult if you've got a Category 5 hurricane. And incidentally, I was actually here when Irma was supposed to arrive. So I've now got on my desk, I code through Cat 5, even though we didn't get an Irma in the end. So my advice to people here is if people in businesses do get scared, and this is a bit of a fun slide, so forgive me, I love this, it was just genuinely hilarious, which is how Bahamians, you guys are the experts. This is what you need to tell them. Don't get scared. We deal with this, we get this fixed. We can put a data center here, no problem at all. We'll get it done. We got regulations, we can fix it. Now, this is a bit of a controversial slide. Is anyone from the University of Bahamas in here? Okay, don't hate me for this. I'm going to say this with love. We had the talk about earlier. What's this? You have to sign apparently, according to the website, no, sure, there's a quicker way to do this. Lovely University of the Bahamas people. You want to get a .bs domain. I tried to get one of these. I looked at it and gave up after like 30 seconds. You have to fill out a Word form and either email it and send it by post. And it's $500 a year, that apparently, and I'm sure this might be a very different situation, but this is the published stuff. If you're a developer and you want to build and you want to suggest what you want to do, what is going on here? Someone, for the love of all that is good. I have no idea. I can go to GoDaddy, I can buy, for $5, I can buy a .com name in 30 seconds. And .bs is the funniest domain name ever. I want to get liberal.bs, conservative.bs, government.bs. Give it away free, it's easy. We can get this fixed in a week. We can do this in 5 days if we need to. This is not good enough. It's been going on for ages. There's no organized country that's got a domain registry like that. I'm so sorry, honey. I've got to say it. because otherwise I get the rage. Now, this is an interesting one. Now, one of the companies I work with in Washington, D.C. is called Sea Straight. Now, I've been doing a lot of more volunteer work with Brief, who preserve the marine reefs. I learned to dive here, which was amazing. I really, really enjoyed myself. So we sat down and I thought, how can we do a bit more marine work? Because I just love the underwater world. It's like Finding Nemo, obviously. And I'd never been growing up in England. It was too cold to do any of this stuff. Brief are doing some really interesting work. And I mean really interesting work. We're going to we want to find out who the oil spill guys and the illegal fishers are, and we want to do it real time so we can send it over to the Defence Force and get these guys out, stop them bleaching the waters, stop them putting the oil in order very quickly. And this technology is pretty straightforward. It's very, very straightforward. This is a satellite report which has come in. I think that's Andros, obviously underneath. My geography isn't brilliant. Sea Straight, my company, is working, the company I work for, is at this point talking with the guys at Brief. We're doing image recognition on these things. Now, that sounds a bit complicated and very heavy, but what you need to know is that the library we're using to do it was built in the 80s by IBM. So if there's any developers in the audience, you'll probably know it's called OpenCV. They bundle it with Android. It's the thing that Facebook used to do the little squares to tag people's faces. Pretty easy. Does it look like it's a fish? If not, circle it. That could be a boat. Is it a cruise liner? No. So we can do that in literally, a computer can make that decision in seconds. So this is in the moment we get this stuff out, we can get it over to the Defence Force, they can go over it and then get these people out. This is the next thing we can do, which is quite fun, virtual reality filming in the reef. So this is a fun thing, which is for sale. We're going to go and hopefully, if all goes to plan, go for a bit of a dive and go and preserve the reef forever, digitally. Now, how do you get people caring about reefs? The way you get them caring about reefs is you've got to get them emotional about it. I didn't understand how cool the reef was until I went and actually touched it. Apparently I wasn't supposed to touch it, but I touched it anyway. It's amazing. So we're going to play with this at the Underwater Sculpture Garden, which again is another Bahamas unique thing that nobody else has. So we're going to put that on virtual reality masks. How do you get through to the guy who's playing Call of Duty as in his apartment, and who needs to be personally inspired and make better life choices, obviously, but how do you get them actually physically into the waters, coming here for tourism? How do you take the Bahamas into everyone's homes? And this isn't as expensive as you might think. So we're going to do some tests, go out into the water, and this is going to be really fun, because I also write films, so I want to play with this technology regardless. There we go. Solar power, I know this was mentioned a million times over, but I hear this again and 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 again. So the lady I'm doing a vacation rental from in Nassau, she said, please can you turn the lights off and the fan because the bills are really, really expensive. And I said, well, that's ridiculous. Why don't you just get solar power on the roof? And she goes, you haven't been here very long, have you? And I said, no, you've been here far too long, if that's the case. Elon Musk talked about this. He's going to reboot Puerto Rico. Now, one of the young Bahamians who was outside here has an even better idea, which I haven't been able to pass yet, but it's even smarter. I would love for him to be on the stage and explain how he's going to do that with water and tide power as well on top. But this is not good enough. $1,000 a month in AC bills is insane. Absolutely insane, and this is fixable. Now, apparently this is something to do with BPL or something that they can't dump excess power into the grid. I don't know what that means. It sounds like nonsense to me, so I'm just going to ignore them on that and get it done. Okay, now these are the guys I mentioned earlier who are doing the call center stuff down here. Slick Space is from Vancouver. They're a young startup. One thing you need if you own a vacation home, you need some control. Some of these people are definitely control freaks, so you need to switch down your AC. You need to be able to do keypad locks. I work for Slick Spaces, and this is a very simple and easy, basic idea. You don't need locks anymore. If you're doing Airbnb, which also needs to happen here as well, you've got 5 people staying at your house in a week. You don't give them all a key. You go onto the website and you program a key code and you're done. Switch everything off in your house and you open your door and you close your door remotely. Unlike Amazon Key, which came out, which is the worst idea I've seen in about 20 years. It was appalling at that point. So those guys are around, but they came all the way down from Vancouver for this. So they flew 16 hours to come down to Grand Bahama to hear what was going on here so they can come and find out. They've got all the home automation stuff. And this is, I know Alive are going in this direction as well. The conversations are pretty good here, but there's no reason not to do smart homes because it's needed here more than it's needed anywhere else in the world. We're getting towards the end and we've got a couple more. And I've got some really crazy ideas which are going to be fun. Bahamian history is being lost. I'm hearing that a lot. I hear that in taxis. Taxi drivers tell me all the time that Bahamian history is oral tradition that's being lost. I didn't know Greycliff, for example, had a prison underneath it. I didn't know it had tunnels that led, apparently, to Parliament. What brought me here was the history, of commerce restored. Pirates of the Caribbean. I love all that stuff. It's romantic, it's cinematic. Augmented reality is really fun. You guys probably know it as Pokemon Go, I should imagine. Most people know it in that kind of way. Imagine you've got a tablet and you're in, forgive me again for being downtown Nassau. You've got photorealistic CGI. You can hire a tablet and you see the pirate ship coming into the bay, like it was a Hollywood movie. Again, not amazingly hard to do because Apple have just bought out a whole new set of tools to do that with. But we can tell Bahamian history that way, and we can relive it and we can preserve it digitally. All right, this is my last slide for my crazy ideas, but I wanted to spend a little bit of time on this because I love the Bahamas, and I like talking about how much I love the Bahamas. What's interesting, this is a bit of a side note, and it's a bit of a left field thing, so again, forgive me, it's not about technology, but the internet can be a very sterile place. It's going into some very strange places, whether you look into things like postmodernism or you see some of these strange philosophical diversions people are taking. The Bahamas has something better to give than the rest of the other countries combined, which is Bahamian personality and Bahamian culture. And I've got so much to say, I feel like I'm going to burst because I love this country so much. Bahamians are playful, they're kind, they're gentle, they're wise. Half of them are quite brilliant, some of them are utterly mad. But they're gentle and they are... I think the best way to put it, playful is the best way to put it. They're the seasoning, the flavoring. The internet's a bit sterile. Some people's ideas are terrible. What we need is some Bahamian humor, some Bahamian color. Have you seen what your country looks like when you put it over a satellite? It's completely blessed. There's no other country in the world that looks like that from space. It's incredible. Outdoor life, quality of life. Conch, I'm not sure about, because I'm still 50-50 on Conch. Outdoor living, the beauty of the nature of the islands, the hunger here, the support for communities, mother's wit, which I love as well. There is so much that the Bahamas can bring. We desperately need flavoring, we need seasoning, we need the Bahamian heart, the Bahamian respect for elders, the need and love of education is a huge thing. I love talk radio here because other people are talking about Kim Kardashian and Bahamians are talking about philosophy. They're talking about politics and they're talking about things that matter. And I've never been anywhere in the Bahamas without having a conversation about things that matter. So we need the heart of the Bahamas, the mind of the Bahamas, the family and the support and the prayerfulness of the Bahamas as well on top of that. And it's incredibly important. Please don't just think it's about technology. It's about spirit. So I'm going to finish off and thank you so much for welcoming me today. And I've had fun as well. This has been great. Listen to this. Well, thank you. I've got 5 crazy ideas for you. And this is sort of one of those things, it's always fun to look at bad ideas. Some of these might be bad, but I hope they might be a bit inspiring because, again, in the spirit of Bahamian playfulness, that you might enjoy them. So my first idea for this, I don't know if you guys have ever heard this, there's an organization online called Cicada 3301. They're a very secretive hacking cooperative, is the best way to describe them. They recruit every couple of, and they post puzzles online. People have posited that they're the CIA or MI6 and all these different types of shadowy organizations. But you notice what they say at the top. We're looking for highly intelligent technical people, which is basically Silicon Valley people. And you don't know what they're drawing. It could be some Illuminati stuff. I have no idea. However, we can definitely borrow. So here we are in the pirate history, with all this romance and cinema, gold and galleons. If we want to get Silicon Valley people here, and I'd love to do this, how about we post an annual challenge every year, 10 grand, saying we'll hide it in the Keys, somewhere on an island somewhere, and we're going to set some cryptography puzzles every year for people to go sailing around and go and find it. That's number one. That's going to draw a lot of nerds, people with Metallica t-shirts and long hair and all those types. Number 2, this is suggested by my friend James, who's Costa Rican. Why, if we have a problem with scalability with government services, if we have people asking questions like, where's my money? Why do I have to pay you tax? Why aren't you fixing our roads? Etc., etc. We've got chatbots, we can do that now. Simple programmable APIs that can handle at least 70% of some very common inquiries. Where's my local hospital? How do I get where I need to be? Again, massive scale, something very simple. I love this one as well. Drone racing. I don't know if you guys have heard about this before. My nephew is crazy about this. All the kids in Canada are crazy about it as well. You put on your goggles with Wi-Fi, and you have your drone, and you fly through the drone. Now, can you imagine anywhere here, anywhere in the world that would be more beautiful than flying over the islands here? I can't imagine anywhere better. You need a SIM card, so Mr. CEO of Alive, anytime you want to oblige us. There's nowhere. Nobody's got the first ever drone circuit. Let's do it in Grand Bahama. Why not? Bring everyone for holidays. We've got 20 megasecond internet. Let's go drone racing. And we can stream it live on YouTube or anywhere else where I want to. It's quite fun. Electric car Grand Prix. They had one of these in Montreal recently. Electric cars. Why don't we go down Long Island and we create a little racing circuit? This is a terrible car for racing in. Terrible. But the idea behind this is that the car charges itself while it's driving with wireless electricity, which is new. But we've got the land and we've got the thing. Why not? Where else would you want to drive and have a race? And my last one, this is my favorite one. People think I'm insane for this, but I would love to do this. This would be so much fun. We're going to turn Andros into a safari park, an African one. It's a national park. It's already there. It's huge. It kind of looks like Africa if you look at it on the map. I lived in Africa for many, many years, and that was lots of fun. But there's lots of conservation. Let's put some lions and some big five in there. Can you imagine if America had they had a safari park in their backyard? You'd make billions. And it's a national park already. I'd love to go and see a lion in Andros. It'd be a Bahamian lion. Really friendly. Until you annoyed it and it bit you. So what I wanted to finish with, and thank you so much for humouring me and obliging me, which, this is again my final slide. This is their hashtag thing. This is what I think you guys should sell it on. It's very, very simple. I actually said this to someone who's quite important and influential here, and they said, right, we're going to go and buy the domain name and trademark it. But this is ultimately what the sales pitch is. You already have a paradise. It's very simple. You already have this. We need a digital paradise. If we've got unlimited connectivity, if we have unlimited insight with the people and unlimited hunger, and we have a government with unlimited willingness to get in there and help, we can do this. It's incredibly simple to achieve. You don't need to sell this. Your pictures sell it. Anything you put up a camera and you put it anywhere in the Bahamas, it's a work of art. You'll have hordes of you. I'm a Silicon Valley guy theoretically. I don't like calling myself that, but I'm the kind of person you want to attract. I'm a digital nomad, 15 years of experience. I work in this every day. You're thinking, how do I get people like me, or maybe not people like me, maybe like people who are nicer, don't want mean about the government. How do you get people like me, or others in the same trade, to the Bahamas to get moving and get helping? You don't need to, because I'm already here. And I came here of my own volition. I didn't need you to pull me here. I wanted to come. I just needed to know that you had all those types of things. It was an easy sell for me. So my point to this is, especially for the government influential types here on this thing, is my Bahamian brothers and sisters and friends say they want me here to help. I'm here to help. I want to get involved. What can I do for you? Let's get going. I don't want to do it like yesterday. Let's do it tomorrow. And I'll help. I know, one final note before I've expired all my time. I wanted to say thank you. One final, that's it. Which was to say thank you. My family came here 2 weeks ago, and I got to bring my sister to paradise. And they never thought they could actually do it. But they had a brother who was here, and my niece got to play in the water for the first time. And it was a bit of a strange thing. It was very emotional for my sister. She never thought she'd come, because in British culture, the Bahamas is very mysterious and exotic and expensive, and it's where you go to retire, effectively, and sit in the sun. But my little niece was playing in the water, and it was an amazingly emotional moment for me. I never thought I'd end up here. For me, it's like this is God's gift after a couple of tough years. And I said, "How do you like the Bahamas?" And she said, "I hate you," which is. And I said, "No, what about the country? What do you think about the country?" And she goes, "This is the best country ever." And I've been here for 4 months, and I cannot disagree with her. Thank you very much, and I appreciate it. Thank you. That's all. I'm going off the other side. I wouldn't use profanity. Oh, thank you.
Alex Cameron. I would have loved to have chatted with him, but time constraints. I really would have wanted to chat with him a little more. And did you not enjoy him? Listen, time is gone. Let me ask, Is Joanna Aubrey in the room? Joanna Aubrey. Is Joanna Aubrey in the room? She left. Is Tara Neely in the room? Tara, would you come and receive a gift prize? Oh, hold on. Is this Joanna? Uh-oh. Tara, I'm sorry. I got the wrong information. So Joanna is here. Joanna, you just barely won this. Thank you. Compliments of a line. Thank you. Let's give her a hand. And thank you. Now we're getting ready to close out. So just before, we want to hear from whoever. Javier. I'm trying to pronounce it in Spanish. The J is pronounced as a H. Javier Zarate. He's going to continue speaking to us what will propel Grand Bahama forward as a great gateway to technology and innovation. So carrying on from Alex Cameron, we're now going to hear from our speaker, Zarate, all the way from Mexico. And he's going to be our speaker, Mexico. He's going to be our speaker. He's here? Here he is. There he is. Here he is. He's coming. Let's give him a hand.
Thank you.
Javier.
Hello.
Zarate.
Hi.
What should I say? Buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes.
¿Cómo
Yes.
estás?
Muy bien, gracias. ¿Y ustedes? ¿Qué tal?
Good.
¿Cómo la están pasando?
All
How are
right.
you doing? Okay.
Let's give him a hand. All the way from Mexico. Come on, let's give him a hand.
Exactly. Thank you.
We look forward to hearing you. How long have you been here?
How long?
How long? How long?
One day. Only
One
for
day?
To be here. Yeah. It's my
Okay.
first time in
First time?
Bahamas. Yes.
And do you like it so far?
Of course, precious.
Good. We're happy to have you. And we look forward to hearing from you. It's all yours.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, good evening. My name is Javier Zarate. I'm coming from Mexico. So, yes, the presentation will be in Spanish. No, I'm kidding. No. I'm kidding. Yeah, we can speak in English, but anyway, apologize if I have any mistake on English, okay? Well, I'm coming from Huawei. I'm in charge of marketing of wireless division for all the region of Latin America. One of my second task in Huawei is the relationship with governments and to promote communication in order to develop economies. So let's talk about the first thing. What is Huawei? Who knows Huawei? Everyone knows Huawei. What is Huawei exactly? Perfect. So what is my here? I think is this one. Yes. So it will be easy. So 100,000 employees. So it's a big company. The headquarters is in China. We have three big divisions. The first one is the devices. Maybe it's the most knowledge, the most known division that for consumers, tablets, laptops, and devices also. The second division is the enterprise, and the third division is carrier. We are provider of equipment for carriers like Alive, like Cable and Wireless, American Mobile, China Mobile. We have a presence in almost 170 countries, so almost all around the globe, and 80,000 R&D employees. So we invest a lot year by year to develop new technologies. So this is where we We have presence, a lot of developer centers around the world, 5 in China, and another 6 around the globe in Germany, USA, France, Singapore. But let's go in on the presentation now. So we are presenting, taking advantage of all the nice presentation in the morning and before mine. Everyone is talking about digital life. Everyone is talking about services online. So taking advantage of that, we are talking about how to make Bahamians happier. No? What is happy? What is happiness? Happiness is a chocolate bear, illness, free from illness, family. Chocolate, I remember that all the day we have been talking about chocolate, so this is a sweet summit, I think so. The relationship, this is the bored part. Numbers, I am engineer, sorry. So what is the relationship between happiness and connectivity? If you check the graph, if you check the chart, the ICT, that is the connectivity relation, what is the relation of connection to internet in the countries related to the happiness in that country. So if you check, it's directly proportional, the connectivity and the happiness. So connections makes, maybe many people can say that technology is not happy. Okay, it's okay, but it supports and it helps to easy life, to make easy all the behavior that we have with the others, the relationship with others and the relationship with our ecosystem. If we take the Maslow hierarchy of needs, this is the theory. In the basement, we have the basic factors for a happy society. Safety. The second, in the middle, we have love and belonging, and that is friendship, family, something that all the people relation, that because we are social people. And in the top of the pyramid, we have freedom, respect, self-esteem, self-actualization, studies, and work, jobs, etc. And we make an analogy how the ICT, how the information and communication technology can help. And our vision is also in 3 steps. In the basement, safer. The people need to be safe, need to feel safe. In the second, in the middle of the pyramid, that is the belonging and our family, our connections. It's the broadband. We have the broadband stage, and the digital, the digitalization, that is then all things connected, Internet of Things, because in short time we have experienced a digitalization of everything. Now we have the bank, we have the health, we have the education, we have the exploration on monitoring. Everything, almost everything has been digitalized. And let's see our vision, our vision about safer broadband and digital. So the base of the pyramid that we have seen, it's a kind of safer. We have a lot of a change on the weather, a change of the society. We have experienced that. So as much as we can monitoring all that events, not only the events of the weather, also the event of the society, to prevent that those accidents or those events, the people will have a better life. For that part of the happiness, we are we are developing solutions for monitoring the weather, as I told you, monitoring the streets, monitoring the homes, monitoring the transports in order to prevent, because I personally believe that in order to change the world, we can prevent. The prevention is very important. No? One of the examples for this solution, we have deployed, as Huawei, we have deployed the security services over LTE that we name LITRA and ELTE. This is the name of trunking services over a LTE network. So mission critical communication over LTE. And we have, according to those charts, the crime reduction is more than 46% in Kenya, for example, using that kind of solution. Why? Because it's the communication of LTE, and everyone has access to the service. Also, we use the potential of the LTE networks, the capacity, in order to provide to the first responders or security forces the ability to not only share voice, also share video, also share picture, also share the location, in order to coordinate, to improve the coordination of the answer for those events. So the reduction of crime in the places that we were deploying that kind of solution is impressive. We are now talking about the mobile broadband. Everyone is using or has been using internet connectivity to share videos, Facebook, to share Instagram, photos, pictures, and every time the voice has been evolved to share videos. So it means that the networks has been requested to support more and more capacity, to have more and more capacity, to provide more capacity. So the media of Latin America, if you check here, it's 10 megabits per second as a throughput for the mobile networks. And in order to, if we compare the services of video in terms of video, HD, high definition, low standard definition, you can see the chart there. That is the throughput required in order to provide those kind of video. 2 megabits, the chart starts from 2 megabits to 1 gigabit per second. So the last survey here, this is good news, the last survey here in Bahamas, Alive has 20 megabits per second. So we can say that Bahamas exceeds the media of LATAM throughput. No? We can provide, in Bahamas, we have a good connectivity. This is a good news for you. This is the 4K video. This is the next generation of video. It's the capacity rate that is required in order to provide that kind of solution. It's peak rates of 100 megabits per second. The networks, the LTE network has been evolved in order to provide that throughput and even more than 1 gigabit per second. So what does it mean to the society? It means that all the connectivity requirements will be compliant with mobile services. Why we are talking about this? Because 10 years ago or some years ago, wireless maybe is not in the forecast of the high broadband solutions. But right now, because the evolution of the technology, we can provide those kind of solutions. Also, this is more numbers. One of the 99% of the enterprises in Latin America is small and medium enterprises. And Caribbean is not different to that reality. So the e-commerce has been growing and growing at 30% year by year, at least from 2015. This is the numbers of 2015. From now, 2008, for 2015 and 2018, it's an estimate growing of 20%. So a lot of transaction from e-commerce, from internet, will be handled. I see one hand for, no? Any question? No? Okay, sorry. I see one hand from there. So it's very important to have connectivity, enough connectivity to those small and medium enterprise here in Bahamas in order to develop the economy. So that's why communication can help, ICT can help in that kind of a solution of communication for those, and improves the economy of the region. That it's in any way it's a good place. So now more than solution for broadband for those small and medium enterprise. You know, a small and medium enterprise is a fixed customer. So because the capacity of the wireless network, we are able not only to provide services to mobile users, also to fixed users with bandwidth similar to the Cooper or to the optical fiber, with rates than 30 megabits per second or rates than 5 megabits per second, 10 megabits per second to the homes or to small offices. What is the advantage of wireless? The advantage of wireless is that we don't need to make a hole or to make a source in the street in order to deploy the cables and deploy the optical fibers. Wireless only install one radio site, and in the next day we can provide solutions of connectivity, fixed and mobile, to that area. That is advantage. The time to market. As much as faster we can connect all the territory, more user will be coming to the network. And other number of other data, because as I told you, I am engineer. Each 1,000 new connections, mobile or fixed, represent 30 new jobs. That is a fact. That number comes from the ONU and OIT. Also, they have analyzed that. So, as much as the governments impulse or support the development of communication in the country, also the economy of the country will be developed. Intelligent society. In the morning, a lot of a presentation has been passed by here, telling about the digital society, our solution, or the Huawei proposal is to support all the operators here in Bahamas, or also to support the Bahamas, to improve that communication, that intelligent society, providing state-of-the-art technologies for communications. Here, in this chart, we have 4 examples. Smart tourism, one of the big industry in the Caribbean and in Bahamas is the tourism. So with VR and AR, virtual reality, you have experience. You can experience outside in the stand of a life also. You can experience the VR experience. What about if the tourism agencies provide experience to the potential tourists before coming with VR videos, for example? No? This is one solution. Another solution is booking. The people likes to book the hotel likes to book attraction, likes to book events from the device. So that's kind of solution. It's what we are talking about here. Even more the intelligent way of working that we are talking about small and medium enterprises and the possibility to connect via wireless and with high throughput. Something happens here. Maybe it's over there. Please check that place. Also, smart consumption. We are talking. We have talking about e-commerce and how the e-commerce has been growing in the last year, and how the e-commerce will grow in the next year, helping to develop the economy of the countries. And by the way, another data from this coming from the UN, the United Nations and International Telecommunication Union. It says that at least, or not less than the half of countries in the world has based their development plans. One pillar of the development plans is the communications. 10 years ago, it was not the case, but all the nations has been taking account that the big potential of the communications as one way to impulse the development of the country. Narrowband IoT, this is very important in the peak of the pyramid. We see all the digitalization, the digital life. This is the solution that we present, Narrowband IoT. What is this? LTE support to connect more than 100,000 connections per site. Imagine that another data about that is one person in the next 5 years will have at least 5 devices to be connected. The watch, the wearables, the iPhone, the phone, the mobile, the tablet, the PC, the laptop. So we have 3 at least, and then another more. So if we multiply 5 times the number of connection, the actual connection, we can have an idea of how much connections will be hosted by mobile services or by the wireless networks. No? So 5G, the next generation of telecommunication, will bring or will provide, well, first of all, they are going to evolve the technology of LTE in order to support 1 million of connections. Also, as another data, another information, in Bahamas, the smart metering for power companies, there is a pilot with 500 devices. We are working together with Alive with one pilot of that. So we are working right now in Bahamas to deploy those kind of services. No? So this is one example, but also because here in this meeting, this summit, I have seen a lot of students, a lot of universities here. That is the base of the development, the base of the creativity of any country. They can develop, they can create any solution, and can be supported by this network. About Narrowband IoT, if you want more information, we can talk, no problem. This is just one idea how the technology makes easy or improve the lives of the society. Also, this is another more data about the economic growth, how the economic growth. Here you can see here that the sensor devices integration, it's that business is in around the world is $23 billion. So it's the market size of the business in the world. And the big data, the big data is is relative to IoT because the IoT makes all that sensor, it is the use of all that sensors, but that sensors, every time that the sensor connects to the database for any services request or any application, all that database is stored and is bigger and bigger and bigger. Remember, in the morning, we talk about Google. All that you do in Google, Google knows. All that you store in Google, Google has. Google knows, no? So you need to take care about that. So with the big data analysis helps to improve those services. So that's why we are presenting here those numbers that as much as the IoT increase, the adoption of IoT increase, also a new potential business is the big data, the big data analysis in order to, it's a cycle, no? The people use the Internet of Things, the people use application or Internet of Things, and the big data analyze that information and improves the application. So it's a cycle. Exactly. And also, we are talking about improve the life of the society. All the digitalization will improve. For us, we think that this kind of solution makes more productive the individuals. Imagine 20 years ago or 30 years ago, when we don't have access to email or we don't have access to WhatsApp. And now, how many people, if we bring that 20 years ago to now, how many people you met, how many people you have in your book list, in the contact list now, and how many people you will have 20 years ago. So with all that kind, with the ICT technologies, the people or the society has become more productive. We can send more mails because not only in the office, 10 years ago, only the office, only the people that has a job in one office had access to the mail. But now we can send a mail in the way. We can send a mail here. We can contact our wife to tell them, yes, my love, I am here working, really. I am not doing nothing wrong. Yes, and send a picture also. Look at me. I send my yeah. You see in the morning the selfie. No? It was directly to his Instagram, and in the second, his wife also. He checked that he's working there. He's telling the truth. Now, in order to improve also the telecommunication or the ICT technologies in the country, we need the help of the government in order to impulse the development of that. So the government can help releasing more spectrum. We have 3 points for them. Releasing more spectrum, regulate those services of those spectrum, because remember, I am talking about mobile or wireless technology, and the main asset, the main resource for mobile communications is the spectrum. It's the way to connect the devices with the antenna, with the radio, and to make that communication. So the regulator of every country should support that develop of the communication via those three suggestions. Release more spectrum for new or for more capacity. Those spectrum should be regulated as a neutral. What does it mean? That any technology can be used in the spectrum. We cannot limit to one technology one spectrum because we can stop the developer, we can limit the spectrum, the technology usage on that asset. That is the big asset is the spectrum, and the third one is the new policies, new regulation about how to increase with facilitation to increase the number of sites. This is related to this kind of facts. The first fact, in the next 5 years, the site density should be incremented by 2, because, as I told you, in order to provide, to improve the experience of the users, we need to install or to deploy more sites. So the idea here, if you check Korea and Japan, that is one of the developed countries about telecommunication, they have 1,200 sites per 1,000 people. It means almost, more or less, in a regular or more sensitive number, almost 500 meters, from 500 to 200 meters, they have one site. This is a high density of sites. So that's why we are requesting the help to the governments in order to facilitate the creation of sites. In order to have one idea, in some countries in Latin America, if the operator likes or needs to develop one site, it may spend up to 6 months for install one site. So that's kind of facilitation we require. Argentina is one case. I'm going to go faster. Argentina is one case that they release all the government assets to the operator in order to deploy sites in any place. That kind of solution also improves the communication or the connectivity in Argentina. According to the second recommendation that release more spectrum, one recommendation from the International Telecommunication Union is to use high frequencies. Those kind of frequencies we are going to use. Take into account that high frequencies means short coverage, so that's why we said that we need to increment twice the number of sites, because the coverage of that area will be reduced to the half. And, well, just those three things to take away. It's spectrum recommended, technology neutral, and site facilities. This kind of support by the government will improve the telecommunication, the ICT, and also we are thinking that also we are helping to the development of the country, to the life of the citizens will be improved and easy. Okay? Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's give him another hand, Mrs. Zarate. Thank you, sir. I have 2 keys to the podium to the front. If you've lost your keys, I don't think you can go too far without them. These are car keys as well, so they're at the front. Ladies and gentlemen, we're at the end of our program, but we must hear from one more person. And right now, coming before us is the Honorable Senator Kwesi Thompson, Minister of State for Grand Bahama in the Office of the Prime Minister. Let's give him a hand as he comes to give us the final word. And thank you for this opportunity. You've been a great audience for me today. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been a very full 2 days. And I want to thank each and every one of you for lasting this long to the end. Please give yourselves a round of applause. And I know that the hour is late, so we are going to I just want to say a few quick wrap-up points, and then we will all leave here and head to Port Lucayan so that we can experience KB. I don't know about you, but I'm waiting for KB tonight. But if we could wrap up all of what was encompassed in these 2 days, we could not pay for what we would have gotten out of these 2 days. And so before I go down the very quick list of those people who we need to thank, I just want to say some very quick points that I believe the government may need to make at the end of a summit like this. The first is, in the next 30 days, we will appoint a Grand Bahama Technology Hub Steering Committee. And that will encompass some of the people who you saw on stage today. That will encompass some of the people who were in the audience. That will encompass a number of our agencies, the Port Authority, and a number Alive and BTC, and a number of persons on that steering committee, because I believe it was Christy who said it. Christy who said it. Absolutely. You number one. You number one. But you should clap for that. She's number one on the list. Because she said something that was very smart. And that is that those of us in government are not very smart when it comes to things like this. And so we want to make sure that we have the necessary expertise to be able to drive this process. And if we truly want to become that technology hub, then we want the experts to be able to steer us in the right direction to get to where we need to go to. The second point is, out of this summit, we discovered that there were loads and loads of tech experts, local tech experts here in Grand Bahama and in the Providence and all over the Bahamas. And so I asked the question, do we have a national ICT association? And the answer was no. And so what I want to do is have that headed in Grand Bahama as the National ICT Association, so that here's the point. The point is the government is not going to be able to drive this process alone. If lawyers need to drive the industry of law, they don't look to the government to drive that industry. If accountants need to want to drive what is being done in the accounting industry, they don't look to government to drive that. Same thing with doctors. They don't look for government to drive that. So we need the local technology experts to come together to assist the government to drive this process. Private sector also must play a big role in driving what it is that we're doing. The next thing is people like Christie and people like Laurent Burrows and people like Higgs. One of the things that came out of this was we discovered them. I don't know about you, but before the process of this summit, we didn't know they existed. So one of the things that this summit did was to show us that we don't have to go outside of the Bahamian pool to get the expertise that we need. So what we want to do is to create a data bank of Bahamians who are abroad, who are in this industry, for a couple of reasons. One is we want mentorship. we ought to be able to pull from them to help our local entrepreneurs on how we can develop our industry. 2, we want to network. They live where we want to be. They work where we want to be. So we want to use them also in networking. And then one of the things that, again, and you may hear me call Christy's name quite a bit this afternoon, but one of the things she said, and I think a couple of them also said, was that they want opportunity to be created here in the Bahamas for them. So we have a grant process that we are about to launch probably in the next month. We actually envisioned that it was similar to the Blue Marlin Challenge, but we want to do it on a larger scale to be able to help even more entrepreneurs. So what we want to do is we're going to create a special grant. That grant is going to be geared towards technology Bahamians who live abroad. And that grant that we haven't worked out the numbers yet, but we're going to work out the numbers, and we may even be able to work something with the Port Authority and work something with some other groups as well. But the purpose of that grant is to be able to provide them with an opportunity to be able to develop some things back home and to be able to develop some industries back home. So we're going to be doing having some more conversations and discussions with those Bahamians who live abroad and who are in that tech industry to be able to pull and to give them some opportunities to do some things here in Grand Bahama. And bear in mind, as I said yesterday, we're talking about Grand Bahama. The next thing is out of that committee, I'm going to put a number for you all now. So out of that committee, I would like to see within the next 3 months a strategic plan on how we make Grand Bahama a technology hub. Out of that strategic plan, we would like to have milestones and strategic goals to achieve, so that in the next 6 months, we can measure ourselves as to how far we've come. When we come back here next year, and we will be back here next year, we will be able to measure how far we've come in a year. And when we come back in the next 2 years, we want to measure how far we've come. So we want to have a strategic plan out of this. We also agree that we need to review legislation. We also agree that we need to review our immigration policy out of this. You know, I believe it was Mr. Cameron, if he's still here, thank you so much for your passion about the Bahamas. He may be on the beach on his computer now. But out of this is the promotion of Grand Bahama as a technology hub. So we're going to launch a campaign. That's one of the things that we must do also within the next coming months. We talked about microfinancing, funding. So yes, those are also the kind of things that we need to be able to look at as well. We also want Christy to help us with Google, because all of the things that she talked about that Google can provide are all of the things that we in Grand Bahama need. So we need to make sure that we have a special connection with you and with Google to help us to get to the point where we need to go. We also want to thank Hackett, I believe Dr. Salsa from Hackett. Schlosser. Oh, hold on, let me make sure I'm Salsa. We want to thank him for his story. We want to thank him for Dr. Jarvis. Sorry, Dr. Jarvis. That's the name that I keep putting in my head. We want to thank him for his story that he spoke about with Miles Monroe, and to see how a Bahamian can influence a non-Bahamian to influence some more Bahamians. So, and then, you know, again, Mr. Cameron, yes, we need to change that government website. And that's why we didn't use the government website. That's why the Grand Bahama Tech Summit government.com was created so that we could create a new website that didn't look like the government website and that was easier to use. And so what we want to do also is all of the presentations that were made. One, all of those presentations, we want to make sure that they are replayed on ZNES so that the whole Bahamas will be able to see them. And two, we also want to make sure that they are uploaded onto the website so that you could see it at any time. You could go back and reference it. You can go back and do it. They tell me it's already there. So that's how fast these things move. Tomorrow we can be the hub. So, that's what happened today. Look at what we could do tomorrow. University of the Bahamas, Dr. Strawn and his team, I want to thank you for coming. University of the Bahamas is going to play a real pivotal role in what we're doing. They said that they want the CIS program, or the ICT program, or the computer program, they want to see that fully come to Grand Bahama, I believe he said in about 4 or 5 years. I don't have 5 years. So I want to see that in about 2. So if they're still here, I'd like to see that program be in Grand Bahama in about 2 years. I think that I believe it could be done. Actually, think about it. Even if the teachers teach in Nassau, the students could still be here. They could do it. They could have a virtual classroom and they could do it here. So that could be done. And then I want to recognize, somebody, Kettering University, I believe one of their deans was here. And she may have left already. But I want to recognize and just call their name because they are Bahamians who have gone to that university and have been the beneficiary of scholarships and have been doing wonderful things like Mr. Burrows, who is doing those kinds of things. And I just wanted to recognize them and to say that we need to continue to support those kind of things. And education. You want to know whether this summit made sense and whether this summit helped Grand Bahama? I got an email this morning. I won't tell you who the person is or where they are because we're still going to talk to them. But they sent me an email saying that we heard that you all are doing, wanting to make Grand Bahama a technology hub and so on. We want to come and make a presentation to the government as soon as possible on opening up a data center here in Grand Bahama. You want to know whether this was beneficial? If Mr. Cameron has not left yet, we have to have a conversation with him on that call center to make sure that call center happens in Grand Bahama. So those are just sort of 2 low-hanging things that Ian and I will be able to work on just as a result of what we're doing and what we did here at this summit. Very quickly, there are some people who we really, really, really have to thank. And one of the first persons that I really, really, really have to thank is Miss Raquel Hart. Raquel, please just come and stand right on the side of me, right here for me, please. Quickly, come. We ain't got plenty of time. Come, quick. This lady here, y'all should big her up. I ain't gonna lie. Y'all really should big her up. We don't pay her enough. We really don't. I'm gonna give you just a very quick example of why she is my right hand, my right foot, my left hand and left foot. One of the presenters, yeah, right. She writing as reminding me some things as we go. One of the presenters showed up at the airport at 4 a.m. to catch their flight. They got to the airport and there was no ticket for them at the airport at 4 a.m. They emailed her at 4 a.m. to say, I'm at the airport, there's no ticket. Not only did she answer them, but she got on the phone to the travel agent at 4 a.m. to organize another flight for that presenter to make sure that that presenter got on a flight to get here at 4 a.m. I read the email trail when I woke up at 6 a.m. But I just want to say that because she has been a driving force and a steady rock when it comes to this tech summit. She bought into the vision from the beginning and has been the driver. And all of you who have anything to do with the tech summit knows that she has been the person that has really been driving this. So please give her one last round of applause. And I also have to thank the Office of the Prime Minister staff, who I don't believe anybody has been in the office for the last 2 days, because all of them have been centered here and have been working here. And if they are on the outside, I just want them, I'll keep talking, but if somebody could call them just so that they could come and people could see who they are, and I just want to say publicly thank you to them. I want to say thank you to my PS who's here, PS Brown, who is here, because let me tell you why I want to say thank you to him. Because he's the one who keeps me out of trouble. Because if it was up to me, we would have spent probably about $1 million on this summit. So he made sure that we did this summit, did it professionally, but did it in budget. So I want to thank him for that. The Grand Bahama Port Authority, Ian, and the executives at the Grand Bahama Port Authority, I want to thank you for jumping in and making this a success. We spoke about this, and without hesitation, you jumped on board and did what was necessary. So we really want to sincerely say thank you to the Grand Bahama Port Authority, and then to Damien at Alive and all of the Alive persons. I don't know where he is, but I just want to say thank you to Alive. You didn't give me a new phone, but that's okay. You gave some other people some new phones, but I want to say thank you. Please give a round of applause to Alive for jumping on board. Most of the presenters, most if not all, but most of the presenters came to us as a result of the connections of Alive. And so Alive did a lot of the work when it came to helping us with bringing those presenters here. So we want to thank them. We want to thank people like Keen Eye Media, who did all of the videos and who did the backdrop and who made us look like we were a tech hub. We want to thank, is this Makial Electronics is... I don't know Makial Electronics. I know Juice. So Juice in the back for making us sound good. Juice, we want to thank you. Also, Global Sun Integration. We want to thank the Network Security Consultants. We want to thank Cloud Karib. Who did the website? Quantum did the Dietrich, where's Dietrich? Dietrich. Wave for me. Dietrich in the back. Please just give a round of applause for Dietrich. Dietrich designed our website free of charge. So Dietrich, thank you very much. Designed it, put it together. All of the registration that you did, that is what he helped us with. We want to thank all of my parliamentary colleagues that came down, Mark, Chanel Ferguson, all of them who came down from yesterday and came down from today. Humes has been here for the entire 2 days, and he brought some young people from Nassau as well. So we want to thank you also for coming down. We want to thank all of our presenters. Please, if you could just stand for us one more time. Thank you. I'm gonna insist that all of us stand to our feet and give a real thank you. to all of our presenters. Your passion, your expertise, your insight, your wisdom, your love for the Bahamas. We appreciate you and we appreciate what you have done for us. You may not know, and you may never know, the benefits of what you have planted here today and yesterday. And I dare say that the technology hub that we will become, and I don't say we might or we possibly, I say the technology hub that we will become, you have laid the foundation of that technology hub. So in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years, when you look back and you visit Grand Bahama, or you see Grand Bahama, or you hear Grand Bahama, and you see us starring in the world, you can say you had something to do with laying the foundation of that. So we really want to say thank you to you. And we want you to enjoy KB. Get some conch and enjoy yourself later this evening. And then we want you to, this is a plug for me. This is just personal for me. I want you to go back to where you are, and I want you to find the biggest executive of your company that you can find. And I want you to tell them that you have visited the greatest place in the world, and that all you want them to do is to come and visit Grand Bahama and to come and be a part of what we are doing in Grand Bahama. Can you do that for me, for the Minister of State for Grand Bahama? Are you able to do that for me? Thank you very much. We also have to thank again Ministry of Tourism, the Grand Bahama Tourism Board, Mr. Aubrey and Carmel. We want to thank you all for everything that you all have done for us, providing the transportation and moving people back and forward. Thank you so much for the gifts that you gave to our presenters. Again, thank you very much. They now know what rum cake is. They now know, you gave them about 5 or 6 different Grand Bahama bears and all sorts of different things, chocolates and so on. So thank you very much for all of the assistance that you gave. The customs and the police, immigration, all of you, we had a conversation about making sure that we have this job interview for Grand Bahama, and that we did well in this job interview for Grand Bahama. Well, I dare say that we did the best job we possibly could have done in this job interview for Grand Bahama. And I believe that we can get the job too. So, ladies and gentlemen, as we bring this Technology Summit to a close, we can do this. There is no mistake about it. It is something that we can do. And all we need to do now is just do it. Thank you, and God bless.
Okay, with that being said, that brings us to the end of day 2. And thank you once again. I will see you shortly over at a Taste of Port Lucayan, which is over in the Port Lucayan Marketplace area. We start promptly at 7 p.m. So please come out, bring a friend and someone else, and continue to share # Grand Bahama Tech Summit 2017. God bless. Drive home safely.